right, man. So why don't you give us a preview on what we're going to be looking at today?
Okay. The focus today is to go over the rules, some things that I think would be helpful for competitors and for general practitioners to understand about the specific rule set. We're going to talk about the IBJJF rules. They're the kind of the default rules for the gi set. And we're going to go over that. We'll hit some positions with some demonstrations to go over it, because the rules, there's a lot of details and nuance to them, and what we're going to go over is kind of a high level. We're not even going to do a super deep dive into the granular, because to be honest, the big bites are enough for a lot of people to be able to get some benefit. If we find that there's a need to do a deep dive, we can do that, but just in general, I'm going to go over those things, because jiu-jitsu is a very big part of a lot of people's lives, and they go ahead and they talk about how, oh, my friend, I know what the real acai tastes like. My friends call me Jafino. I only wear Havaianas. I have all these things, man. I love to compete. And then you ask them, oh, have you read the rules? And they go, no. Which to me is like telling me that you're a devout religious person. And it's like, oh, do you read the book for that? No. Oh. Well, you've lost a little bit of credibility with your commitment. And if you want to be a hobbyist, or you want to be a competitor, if you want to be a hobbyist or someone that just practices, I mean, good for you. Enjoy it and use it. But if you're going to be a competitor, I think your minimum level of commitment has to go up a little bit. It's not just yourself that you're putting at risk when you go out there and compete without knowing the rules. There's somebody else that's there. Yeah, the referee's trying to ensure safety, but your obligation is to know the rules. I've been party to disqualifying people or watching people get submitted with either applying a technique that was illegal, that they didn't, oh, I didn't know, I thought I could. No, you can't toe hold them, you're white belt. Like, and the other thing is, just like, the some events let purple belt to knee bar. And because each event is a little bit different, you would do well to, if you're gonna go ahead and give your time, your effort, and your money to compete, do yourself a favor and take the 15 minutes to read those rules for that event enough that you're not going to get just caught blindside. It's safe for you, it's safer for the competitor, and to be honest, as a referee, it makes my job easier if I know that everybody's working off of a basic understanding, because there's going to be stuff that happens, but some of it's very preventable. For adults, in general, the events that I work and the event that we run, if you're an adult and you go ahead and you do the wrong thing, you're an adult. That's on you. But if you're a kid, like we're trying to tell kids, because kids, they're relying on somebody else. Like literally, you hear coaches yelling, guillotine, guillotine, and you're like, no guillotine, no guillotine. And if the kid starts to, we try and tell them, no guillotines, no guillotines. If it progresses, there's things that happen and that. But in general, we want to support that kid, because the whole goal is win or lose for everyone to have a positive experience. Losing sucks. But we can still have it be something that is something that you want to try again. You want to train more. You want to be back on the mats. The idea of a competition is that you come back to train, win or lose. And knowing the rules helps it to stack the deck for a better experience, win or lose. So, just take a couple of minutes. Don't skim it, by the way. Read it.
Read it.
It's fine. If you got to do it in 2 sessions, take your time. Break it down.
Probably.
Put a Post-it on your screen so you know where it is. Whatever you got to do, highlight it. Just pay attention enough, So it'll set you up for having the best chance to win. Because with all the details in the rules, there's things that can be exploited, let's say. If you're mounted and you go to knee on belly, don't look at me for points. You better get your knee on belly points before you go to mount. So there's things like that, just understanding that it's the progression that we're looking for when we're scoring those points. It's going to help you to go ahead and maximize. It'd be great if everybody won with a legal submission within the time frame, but that doesn't happen. So understanding the point structure and what points are awarded for, what gets advantages, these different things, they're all going to help you to have a better experience at an event. So.
Got it. That makes sense. So not just that a position is worth a certain number of points, but that there's an actual positional hierarchy that you're working towards, where you can't go backwards on it. You can only move forwards if you want to attain points. Strategically or tactically, you could make the move to whatever position, as far as getting to a submission or something, getting to an endpoint. But if you're racking up points, or that's your goal, you have to move through the hierarchy in the way that it's set up.
It is designed to show progression of control, not a regression of control. So, yeah, what you said is exactly correct, but the understanding of why is once you understand a little bit behind it, when you take that step back and you think about it, you're like, oh, well, that actually makes sense. You're not going to reward someone for going down the ladder. They have to go up the ladder. So just paying attention to those details, understanding what those things are, is going to make it a better experience. So
Cool.
So the thing that we are going to talk about is the IBJJF rule set specifically, just because that's the one that's the de facto. When we're going through these positions, it's my opinion and it's my interpretation of the rules. There's no official governing body that's sanctioning this or anything like that. This is just my experience of refereeing for a long time, and my commitment to knowing the rules. I'm a human, referees are human, mistakes are made, but the thing that we're doing here is we're trying to share some information that's going to help you, and then I would recommend that you go ahead and check out other videos and things like that to go ahead and get more information if you feel you need it. But this should give you a good start. It should give people a good starting point, good understanding of the general, and then there's always going to be a little bit of a way that they can go down a rabbit hole. And then the other thing is the rule book says, not all situations are covered. Like it says it in the rule book. Not all situations are covered in this. Well, it's going to be the same thing with the videos. We're going to go through some of the basics. We're going to go through a lot of things that can help people with an understanding, but there's different turns and paths that you can swiggle down. But we'll go through and give people a decent base to understand what's going on.
Cool. Awesome. That sounds good.
Purple belt, 222.1.
We're going to go over the basic takedown. Takedown is when the athletes are standing on 2 feet and they put the other athlete down seated on their back or on their side. Establish control for 3 consecutive seconds. We'll bet. 1,001, 1,002, and 1,003. Now we're going to show a scenario where a takedown is attempted. The person defends. The referee has to establish when that control for 3 consecutive seconds is in place. 1,001, 1,000, 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. Now we're going to go through a takedown scenario where the athlete is not put on their seated back or side. They're snapped down to all fours, and the athlete that initiated the movement progresses to behind the shoulder with 3 consecutive seconds of control. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. The most positional points that can be earned is 4 points, and that is for mount, or back grab. We're going to go ahead and talk about the mount positions now. This is a technical mount position. 1 knee is down, 1 foot is down, above the waistline, across the torso. Both arms can be on top, or if Sam had 1 arm that was underneath, this would still count as a mount position. Because he's on his side in this technical mount position, 4 points would be awarded if this was the first time that the top player had established this position. Another form of mount is front mount. So if Sam goes back and faces face up, 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, this would be a mount position, but because the first mount was in that technical mount from the side, Sam would get a free turn and be able to face up. If Sam decided that he wanted to go ahead and reverse the position and face away, this is back mount. This is a distinct position that is different than front mount. This would be 4 additional points. One of the other 4-point positions for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu scoring is back grab or back control. That is done when the person is behind the shoulders and both hooks are inside the thighs. This is the half of that position, and then for the count to start, the second hook would have to be established. 1001, 1002, 1003. That would be a 4-point back grab, back control. In this scenario, we're going to go ahead and watch the progression of through the mount and back control and how the points can be stacked. Top athlete progresses to a mount position. Front mount, 1001, 1002, 1003. They earn their 4 points. They start to attack. The bottom athlete defends, turns all the way over, and now is in back mount. 3 seconds of controller established. There's 4 more points. Bottom athlete decides that they're going to go ahead and try to escape more. Top athlete now sinks both hooks. They've established a back control. This is worth 4 more points. In that scenario, he has earned 12 points through those 3 positions. Now we're going to talk about knee on belly, which is good for 2 points after 3 consecutive seconds of control. So the top athlete goes ahead and progresses to knee on belly. The knee is on the belly. The foot is out. The other knee is off the ground. After 3 seconds of control, this will be worth 2 points. It has to be a progression. If that athlete is mounted on the other opponent, and then of his own choice, he decides to hop off and go to knee on belly, this will not be points. This will be nothing for him to be rewarded on the scoreboard because he was in a better position and of his own choice chose to go to a different position that was worth less. One of the big principal movements in jiu-jitsu is a guard pass. Sam has a guard established, and as the pass occurs, 3 seconds of control surmounting the legs, 1001, 1002, 1003. 3 points are earned for a guard pass. Another scenario that can happen during a guard pass is that the defending athlete turtles. And as they turn, the attacking athlete, the passing athlete, then establishes a hook. The referee at this point needs to wait and let this scenario fully develop to see if the back with control, back with hooks is established, or if the other athlete that was defending then scrapes off and the person ends up on top. This would be considered a guard pass. They are now clear of the legs. 3 points for a guard pass, advantage for the back with 1 hook. So for guard pass, as long as the legs are cleared and the position is controlled for 3 seconds, whether it's side control or north-south, that would be considered a 3-point guard pass. When passing the guard, if the athlete that's passing goes to a different position that is also point scoring, in this scenario, knee on belly, there would be 3 points for the guard pass, and there would be 2 points for knee on belly, earned in the same 3 seconds. A sweep is worth 2 points, and a sweep is when the person that has a guard, which is using their legs to prevent the person from controlling them, takes the position from being on bottom to being on the top for 3 consecutive seconds. That is 2 point sweep. The position we're going to talk about now is a dynamic movement for a sweep. The person that is a guard established with their legs in place, stopping them from controlling them, now becomes the top position. They go to 4s, they stay behind the shoulder for 3 consecutive seconds. This is a 2-point sweep. If, during the course of this control and established motion, the person that is defending the sweep is no longer having one knee in contact with the ground, 1001, 1002, and he starts to defend, then is brought back down to both knees, 1001, 1002, 1003. This would be a 2-point sweep. Now we're going to talk about leg reaping. This is something that has been widely discussed for a number of years. It's actually pretty straightforward, but it helps if we can go over the scenarios. There's 3 areas that can happen where the foot is weight-bearing or controlled by the armpit, and the bottom, and the one athlete has their thigh behind and their calf in front. This is when we start to look at where the foot position is. There's 3 zones. There's a zone from the body to the midline, which we're going to use the nose and his navel to be as a reference. Then there's past that, but inside the body line, and then there's to the outside of the body. So the first scenario here, this is legal. We're going to go ahead, he can move his foot all the way to this area right here, and that's about as close as he'd want to get. That's closer than he might want to, but this is legal. As a referee, we would let this scenario play. As a competitor, you should know to let this scenario play. Now we have to decide what happens if it goes past this midline. So as soon as it goes past this midline, it's still inside the body line, the referee will call paro. Bring this foot back to a center position. Falta. He will signal a penalty, and he will move this here, and then he will say combate, and it will start again. Now, in this scenario, if he was to move his foot across the line again, he would receive another penalty, and it would be a penalty plus advantage. But in the scenario we're going to show right now, the top athlete actually forces the illegal motion. Paro! Falta signals the penalty for the other athlete, brings the foot back to the legal position, and says combate, and the match restarts. Now, in this scenario, we're going to go ahead and show that the bottom athlete, the one that is in danger of the leg reposition, goes ahead and commits and sends that foot all the way across to the outside of the body. Right now, paro! This is no longer a restart. This is going to be a disqualification. The referee would call paro, would stop the match, would stand the athletes up, would signal the disqualification, closed fist or hands pointing at the waist, and raise the hand of the other athlete. The athlete that is disqualified is not disqualified from the tournament, is just disqualified from the match. If they had another opportunity to compete in that tournament, whether it was no-gi or still on the same bracket, they would be able to compete. The other scenario with knee reap is when the foot goes across the midline and there is a submission attack in place. If that occurs, paro! He's attacking this, his foot is across the midline, referee will call paro, will take them out, stand them up, and perform the disqualifying action, and then we will go ahead and rest. Now we're going to talk about advantages. Advantages are for almosts. It's when someone almost establishes a point scoring position or a submission. In this scenario, top athlete clears the legs. 1001, 1002, they've almost passed the guard. He's going to be awarded an advantage for the guard pass. And then we have an attack that is there. It's almost advantage for the submission attempt. Now we're going to show the way that a penalty is signaled. Penalty is when someone does an illegal action. In this case, gripping inside the pants. Falta. Referee will signal. The referee sees that the grip is legal. There's nothing to be done. Penalties are done in an escalation. The first penalty is reflected only by a penalty. Then it is penalty and advantage, penalty and 2 points, and then for adults, penalty and then disqualification. If the athlete does the same penalty or different penalties, it doesn't matter. The first penalty is here. Falta. Penalty is reflected. They do the same illegal action. Falta. And then advantage is scored for the other athlete. The third time, falta. Illegal action and 2 points for the other athlete. And then falta. Paro. The athletes would stand up, the disqualification would happen, and the other person would be raised as the winner.